Bullets whizzed through dense jungles, helicopters roared overhead, and soldiers faced the unforgiving heat of Vietnam. But beyond the chaos of war, there was another daily battle, one that every soldier fought. It was the battle of hunger. Forget mom's home cooking. For these troops, survival meant choking down canned mystery meat, improvising with whatever they could find, and sometimes risking it all for a taste of something better. This was the reality of feeding soldiers during the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975, was a prolonged conflict between Communist North Vietnam, supported by the Soviet Union and China, and South Vietnam, backed by the United States and its allies. Rooted in Cold War tensions, the war became one of the most challenging and controversial conflicts in U.S. history. For soldiers on the ground, the conditions were brutal. Dense jungles, relentless heat, and constant uncertainty shaped their daily lives. Beyond combat, even basic necessities like food posed challenges. Troops relied on rations, field kitchens, and whatever they could find to sustain themselves in a foreign land. For soldiers deployed in Vietnam, food wasn't about enjoyment, it was about fuel. The main staple of the combat soldier was the C-ration. These pre-packaged meals were designed to withstand extreme conditions and provide enough calories to keep soldiers going, but they were far from gourmet. Each ration consisted of a small cardboard box containing canned and packaged foods. A full daily supply provided 3 meal units, with combinations that rotated, but not always favorably. The typical contents included an entree, canned meat-based dishes, such as beef stew, frankfurters with beans, or the dreaded ham and lima beans, nicknamed ham and mother effers by disgruntled soldiers due to its unappetizing taste. Other contents could include crackers or hardtack, often dry and crumbly, peanut butter, jelly, or processed cheese spreads. And for dessert, fruit cocktail, pound cake, or a chocolate bar, though the chocolate often melted in the heat. Each unit also included an accessory pack, and usually included instant coffee, sugar, powdered cream, salt, napkins, matches, chewing gum, and Tabasco sauce. Packs of smokes, Lucky Strikes, or Pall Malls was an essential morale booster. C-rations weren't meant to be delicious, they were meant to last. Each can was vacuum sealed, making them durable but frustratingly difficult to open without the P-38 can opener, a small metal tool issued to soldiers. Many troops opted to use their bayonets or even their teeth in a pinch. Hot meals were a rare luxury, so soldiers often ate their rations cold, straight from the can. Some heated their food by placing cans on vehicle engines or using C-4 explosive to create a makeshift stove. Desperation bred creativity, and soldiers became skilled at modifying their meals, mixing coffee, sugar, and chocolate to create a pleasing mocha-type beverage, or combining ration items to make something resembling a home-cooked dish. While functional, C-rations quickly became monotonous. Some soldiers traded unwanted items with each other, hoping to assemble something more appetizing. Others turned to local Vietnamese markets for fresh food, despite the high risks of contamination or food poisoning. For soldiers in Vietnam, the daily grind of combat was relentless, and food was often an afterthought. While C-rations were the primary source of sustenance, combat troops occasionally had the rare opportunity to enjoy a hot meal, a momentary escape from the harsh realities of war. On larger military posts, mobile field kitchens provided Type A rations, meals made with fresh ingredients instead of canned goods. These meals were transported in insulated containers, which could keep food hot for extended periods. A typical field kitchen meal might include freshly cooked meats like roast beef, grilled chicken, or pork chops, potatoes, rice, or pasta as a side, fresh bread or rolls, which were a welcome change from dry crackers. Desserts like cake or pie were available when supply chains allowed. These meals were a rare treat, usually reserved for soldiers stationed at bases or larger units with logistical support. Frontline troops, constantly on the move, rarely had access to freshly prepared food. Delivering hot meals to soldiers deep in the jungle was a logistical nightmare. The dense terrain, unpredictable enemy attacks, and supply chain disruptions meant troops often went weeks without a proper meal. Food deliveries arrived via jeep, truck, or helicopter, but by the time they reached soldiers in remote areas, meals were often cold or spoiled. Despite the hardships, the taste of a hot, fresh meal reminded soldiers of home, offering a brief moment of comfort in an otherwise unforgiving war zone. For combat troops in the field, resupply missions were a lifeline, and helicopters played a crucial role in delivering food, water, and essential supplies. roads were often impassable due to mud, enemy ambushes, or destroyed infrastructure. Helicopters became the primary method of delivering food to troops in isolated locations. Fresh food and care packages were rare for these troops, but would be a very much needed morale booster when included in a drop. Delivering food was dangerous. Enemy forces often targeted supply helicopters, knowing they carried vital resources. Pilots had to fly low and fast, sometimes dropping supplies without landing to avoid enemy fire. In some cases, supplies were parachuted down or pushed out mid-flight, requiring soldiers on the ground to rush to retrieve them before they were damaged or lost. Receiving food and mail in the field was a morale booster and a reminder that they weren't forgotten. R&R, or rest and recreation, was a brief but much-needed break for combat soldiers, who were under tremendous mental stress. R&R was usually a few days in the rear where soldiers could relax, shower, enjoy a cold beer, or a barbecue with friends. Some bases even had organized cookouts, where fresh meat, beer, and supplies were flown in. Popular American beers included Budweiser, Pabst Blue Ribbon, and Carling Black Label. Beer was a staple for soldiers in Vietnam. Unlike today's strict military regulations on alcohol, troops in Vietnam had easy access to beer, even in remote fire bases. For soldiers stationed at larger bases, mess halls provided a rare sense of normalcy, a place where troops could sit down, eat a hot meal, and briefly escape the stress of war. Mess halls were permanent or semi-permanent dining facilities located at major bases like Long Binh, Da Nang, and Cam Ranh Bay. These facilities were staffed by military cooks and support personnel, who worked tirelessly to prepare meals for thousands of troops. Mess halls served freshly cooked meals, often resembling traditional American food, including breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For many soldiers, mess halls were a welcome break from combat. Sitting down at a table, eating with utensils, and having access to hot food made a significant difference in morale. Mess halls also became social hubs, where troops could relax, joke with friends, and momentarily forget the dangers outside the base. Some facilities even had radio stations or live entertainment, adding to the atmosphere. Despite their advantages, mess halls faced logistical challenges. Supplies had to be transported from the U.S. or sourced locally, and food shortages sometimes led to limited menu options. Additionally, bases were frequent targets for enemy attacks, meaning soldiers had to remain alert even while eating. On holidays like Thanksgiving and Christmas, most troops were treated to a hot holiday meal, usually consisting of turkey, stuffing, cranberry sauce, and pumpkin pie, a rare taste of home. These meals were highly anticipated and provided a much-needed morale boost. The hardships faced in Vietnam led to changes in military food systems, paving the way for the MRE, meal, ready to eat, which replaced C-rations in later conflicts. Lessons learned shaped nutrition, variety, and packaging, improving meals for future generations of soldiers. We at Food Folklore would like to extend our deep gratitude to the men and women who bravely served our nation during the Vietnam War. Thank you for watching. Please consider liking and subscribing to Food Folklore.